Good morning, everybody. We have Richelle Russ. Happy Thursday, happy Friday, actually.
Friday. I know it's the long weekend thing, Ness. I've been confused all week.
I know, right? It puts us behind a day. We kind of lose track where we are. But yeah, we're going to have a few of us join today. So if you are followers following and jumping on to watch, they love my shows, which is really good. So what I'm going to do, everybody, is introduce you to Richelle while I share the stream onto a couple of Facebook pages so everyone can watch and it comes up in their feed. But Richelle's going to introduce herself and tell you all about her spiritual journey.
Ooh, let me see. So a bit about me, I guess, is I'm someone who grew up in a small country town. So very fortunate to be in a small town called Three Springs, which allowed me to have really strong connections with community and particularly intergenerational relationships, which really I think also has been something that's led me to do the work that I'm doing. So I'll try not to make it too bitsy around kind of who I am and where I've come from. But really clear from an early age that I did enjoy working with people. So a strong connection to, I guess, things like empathy, to relationships, to communication, and really wanting to work in an industry where I could offer that support. So here I am now turning 50 this year, and I've done 24 years in the community services and education sector, really working in the helping industry. So I've got that side of me, and also Ness, when you talk about the spiritual side, I think this is something that is really important to me and has been growing, certainly as an adult. But I just wanted to share a little story from what I can remember, which I think is my first memory about connection with spirit. So when I think I was about 7 or so, and this is when I grew up in Three Springs, and I was laying in bed, and it was the middle of the night, and we had this old trike, like a little tricycle out on our back veranda, which my great granddad had passed on to us. And I woke up and I could hear the tricycle being ridden. And I got up and I peered out the window because I could see straight out the back onto our veranda. And I peered out the window and it would stop. And then I'd go back into bed. I'd lay back down, and then it kept happening again. So every time I peered out the window, it would stop. So that's a really clear memory for me, that I think that's the first time that I really felt a connection. And I remember going to Mum, and Mum is quite a spiritual woman. So I've been lucky to have a nana and an auntie and a mum who really pursue this as well. But at the time, she woke up and she was probably really tired because she had 3 young kids, and she just said, "Oh, it's probably just the wind pushing it around." So and so, you know, as a kid, that's like, oh, you've got one experience, but then you've got the logical answer from someone who is, you know, your main role model. So it creates some confusion, and I'm sure I didn't have those sorts of thoughts as a kid, but
No.
it just left me wondering. You know, it was like, so really once I became a teenager, I became more interested in spirit. So seances, of course, which
Yes.
remember doing them with my mate Tammy, and it was like, ooh, and then we'd get everyone involved, and yeah, so so I think that was more just, you know, fun and experimenting. And then as a young adult, started visiting psychics and really starting to make that connection and then that awareness, which I think for me is just, it's about giving me that real sense of peace as well. So the connection that there's something much bigger than me, certainly connection to higher forces. And as I've developed through that, so like with anyone, I guess, who's following this path, there's so many little stories in between, and so many books and people that I've come across, which has really reinforced my desire to know more and to connect more. So but certainly recently, with a shift towards my own business, and I mentioned this to Ness just before we came on, I've been paying extra attention to the messages that I've been getting, particularly because I'm rolling with lots of uncertainty. So I could either choose to freak out and go, oh, new business, and there's so much risk and stress that comes with that, or I can think when you're feeling stressed or you're experiencing something new, it's an opportunity to even connect more, or that's what I've found.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, you know, when you get into that space of starting a business, it's pretty shaky. You know, you don't know where you're going to go from one day to the next, and you are kind of living on a very short week to week kind of lifestyle until it starts to pick up. But, you know, when you've got a gift and you know that you want to help people, you just keep going with it. You just do.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of this change actually started with you, Ness. So I think it was about May last year. So I've worked in the same job for about 7 years, which is a long time for me. And I worked with an organisation called Rua Community Services in Perth, and they are awesome. Such an awesome organisation. But I was working remotely and starting to lose interest in that kind of work arrangement. And then I really sat for a month or so and really reflected on what is it that really makes me feel happy or makes me feel joy in my work, and what am I good at, and really thinking about what, when I'm working with people, where do I get the best response from people? And kept coming back to, because I did leadership coaching in my previous role, certainly working with senior leadership and emerging leaders, and having these we used to do these assessments and have talks, and that was the highlight of my work. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So sat with that, and then I went and saw you, because I often found in my spiritual journey, I would go and see a psychic like yourself when I was pretty clear on what I wanted to do. So it's almost like I just needed confirmation.
You just needed that nudge.
Yeah, which I love. And so it's probably every 2 years or so I would go and see someone. And you probably can't remember because you've seen so many people in the meantime, but you said to me, and I'd already thought I want to do counselling, because I hadn't got a qualification in that, but I felt like that's kind of what I'd been doing for so long anyway in different community development roles. And you said, why don't you become a counsellor? So everything you said just mirrored exactly what I had been thinking, even down to the place to go and do the study. So I was like, oh my goodness, it's
like I just dropped so many breadcrumbs, didn't I? You just had to grab each one of them and pick them up and run with it.
Yeah, and although I had strong belief already in what I was going to do, I've always loved that connection to the spirit world, just to give me that extra confirmation, which is what you did. And from that time forward, the amount of dreams I had, the numerology that just keeps dropping into my life is like next level. So everything that happened in terms of spirit message once I made that decision was so positive. Like there was not one thing. Even when I came to your women's circles and would do our cards, it was all so positive. And I remember one card I had which just said yes on it, and you know when we do the cards and mine said yes, and that's all it said. And you didn't even see my card, but when you took the card from my hand, the word you said was yes. And I was like,
yes.
So I was like, oh, another message. Woo!
Yeah. And I love how spirit just turns up like that. You know, when you're in that state of confusion, right? It is an awesome feeling to get confirmation when you really want to move forward and you're just like, what next? Like, I really don't know. And I always say, you know, Annie Labrie, when she teaches her tarot cards, she says to me, the cards can't lie. And I really believe that now, you know, because when you did readings for yourself, you'd always go, question this, you know, is it right? But then someone will come and read the cards for you and they all turn up the same. So you can't be right. You can't be wrong. The cards don't lie, you know. So it's really interesting when spirit shows up to show you where your journey is heading, how important it is for you to listen. And if you don't listen, what keeps happening?
Yeah, the same thing.
Yeah, history repeats itself, and the message isn't heard, so it keeps showing up, and things keep happening for you. So, you know, and I feel like dropping you into that counselling journey now, Richelle, you've opened that to the next level and gone into your own business. So let's tell everyone about your business, what it's called, and I guess what do you offer that makes you unique? So share.
So my business is called Forward Moving Counselling and Consultancy, because I wear a learning and organisational development hat as well, because I've done that for some time. So yeah, Forward Moving Counselling, and I chose that name because I have a real philosophy in the work that I do that does focus on forward movement. So I think that as a business name is really reflective of the support that I can give. And I think that's linked very much to me coming from more of a coaching background. So looking and working in the mental health recovery space, which is very much around goal setting. So smart goal setting, really looking at actions and practical strategies to move someone forward. So that's a big part of my philosophy, but I'm always mindful to say that doesn't mean that someone can't come and see me and we can't sit and talk about trauma, and we can't sit and talk about the past, because I know that so much of what's happening in the current is related to the past. So I'm not someone who'll just say, right, let's get on with it. It's really about trying to bring those two together. But my desire or my goal, personal goal, is with every session is to have someone leave with a solid action. So a solid action that is determined by them, not by me, obviously, because if it comes from me, then it's less likely to be successful. So really, around that forward movement. And just while I'm speaking about that, and interrupt me, Ness, if you need to, because I can bang
keep
on.
Going. You're fine.
So the idea of, again, some clear things that were coming in from me, or some different books that land on your lap at particular times, is when I was setting up my business, or even doing my study, my counselling study, I came across a guy called Phil Stutz. So Phil Stutz is a psychotherapist who lives in New York. So he's a bit of become a bit of a psychotherapist for the stars. So I say that because I don't want that to sound like but that's why he's become a bit more well known. But his philosophy is very much around forward movement.
Right.
So when I started reading his books, it was like, oh my gosh, this aligns so much to how I want to deliver my service. So he's got three things, and I've written them down so I don't forget them. So his philosophy is, number one is homework. I say about actions. So because we know that the good work, we can do some good work when we're in session together, but it's the work that happens outside of the session that makes the difference to someone's life. It's the doing of it. So it's that forward action which leads to forward movement. Forward motion is the next one. So we are moving forward. We acknowledge past. We make sense of what role that's played, but we're also looking at how can we now move forward. What's our desired future look like? And the other one's higher forces. So that's why I really resonated with him too, because then it's higher forces. So he's developed a number of tools which are linked to higher forces.
Wow.
And so I know I've been meaning to say to you, have a look at this guy. So, but also be mindful that not everybody can't want to come and see me and want to pursue kind of the higher forces or the spiritual side. So that's that's not a thing that must happen in my practice. But but really, love Phil, and I've got his book here, and it's called The Tools. So it's getting a little bit, the tools.
You've showed me that book.
Yeah, so it's been around for a while, and and it's got So, and he's got practical tools, which then really aligns with my idea of forward moving, because he's got tools that people can use, any moment at any time, if it's a particular thought. So it's, so I just love it. So that's where the forward moving name has come from, and supports a bit of my philosophy too around sorts of therapies that I use, such as solutions focused therapy.
Yes.
So solutions focused, and I know you know about this because you're a counsellor yourself, but really I think that therapy aligns with me as well in the forward moving, because it's very goal orientated and very future focused, and the language that is used is more positive, about how you want your future to look, rather than what's it looking like right now. And I love that philosophy. And I've used that in my work quite a bit previously, and even the people and culture team that I was in at RUA, we would just say we're solutions focused, because it's so easy to get bogged down in the problem and the problem saturated talk, and then the forward movement kind of goes out the window, because we're and it does have a place, but
it does. And if you can say to someone, so where's your life looking now, and then you can say, so what's it going to look like when we put the work in, and where do you want it to be? Let's drop into that moment and put you there, and let's start to create that big picture. Think what you see, what you see, feel what you feel, and hear what you hear in that moment, so you can create that and move you through the subconscious, unconscious brain that it causes us to get stuck, right? And if you can't see the big picture, showing them a picture of their future that they can create helps them get distracted to make that happen. So I love solution focused. And on that note of homework, I call it home play, because to me,
that's better. I feel that
belief systems are around homework links to school, right? So I always say home play is a magical tool, because people don't realize that counseling isn't just about sitting there, coming every single session, emptying out. There needs to be some immediate action to take with you, so that you can actually move forward to that creating that solution that you want for yourself. So, homework doesn't have to be homework. It could be mindfulness techniques. It could be meditation.
It's not, it doesn't have to be a worksheet that you fill out. That's why I say homework, it's not,
It's not a scary thought.
Don't worry, I'm not going to assess it. You don't have to bring it back. I'm not going to tick it with my big red pen.
No, and that's right. That's right. It's just reminding people that, there is a belief around that word homework, but it's not about that, we're not the school teacher. We're not here to pressure you to do that. So it is an exciting tool to be able to be accountable for some, new tools to add to your life, really.
And I think it is around that accountability. So it's, and negotiating with the person around when they're going to do that, how often they're going to do that. And then next time we catch up, we can have that conversation. And then that's not about, well, why haven't you done it? You said it's more about, let's talk now about why that didn't happen for you. What's still getting in the way. Perhaps the goal or the strategy or the homework that we set is not right for you. So we need to step back. And I think that's about being a good counsellor too, is that continually checking in, because I know from work I've done in the past, often clients will just say yes just to please the worker or to please the counsellor. And that's not helpful. So it's really about getting them to come up with the strategies rather than, being the one to suggest as such, because it has to resonate with them. It has to mean something for them.
Absolutely. And it feels like too, Richelle, you're very intuitive. You trust your intuition, when it comes to what the client needs and sitting with them and holding that space for them. So you've got that natural intuitive side as well, which, which is a beautiful thing to offer. And And it kind of is to me, when it looks like intuition, I always go, that comes from a spiritual source or a higher being, and you've got that as well, which is just beautiful to say. And that's another thing why I brought you on. You're just not in that full force of the same old counselor. You've got different tools that are intuitively you bring in, which is beautiful to share. And so I just want to go back to that little girl that was talking about the bicycle. Let's have a chat about her. When you were saying you told mum that, the bike was going and all of that. What do you think? I don't know if you remember what was going on through your mind. Did you know that it was a spirit that might have been riding that bike? Or
that's a good question, because although I was young, my memory is that's what I thought it was.
Okay.
Not that it was the wind. I wasn't satisfied. I never felt satisfied with that answer. And I really did feel, although I couldn't see anything on the trike, it had moved. It had clearly moved. So I remember even as a kid thinking about it and just going, oh, maybe it is a kid who's passed on, who's just coming to have a play. Or as I got older, mum had an ectopic pregnancy, so lost a child. So I thought, is that child? Oh, I just got goosebumps, so maybe it is. Is it that child who's coming back to have a bit of a play on our our toy equipment while we're sleeping?
And I think at that young age, how old were you? About 4 or 5?
Oh no, I think it's hard. I reckon I might have been about 6 or 7 from memory. Yeah.
And I do feel like when you're saying that to me and getting the confirmation of the goosebumps and everything like that, you know what you saw, what you felt, what what you heard in that moment, and you know that might have possibly been a connection to your mum's child, your brother or sister losing that child, or a little child that came for a ride on that bike to let you know. Because when we are young, our mind is so open, right? We see and we feel and we hear more than we do as an adult, because we close that down as we get older. But intuitively, I think, Richelle, you must have known, right? You must have really known that you knew what it was.
And absolutely. And when I think back to that, although it's unclear, it's the vision isn't unclear. Like I can still see exactly what that looked like. But that's how it feels. And I really do think that experience, it was the thing that made me explore more. I mean, there's other things as well. Like I said, my mum and Natter, and they were always very open to spirit. But I think it was that. So it just formed this real interest for me. And I also remember in my teenage years going through a tough time. And another really clear memory for me is having my hand held while I was sleeping, so waking. And there was definitely, a hand holding my hand. So I haven't ever seen spirit. But it's more just through those sorts of interactions, and obviously all the other connection and messages that I get. But I've never, seen as far as I know. But as a kid, I think I was a bit, that could be a bit scary. So I kind of maybe
shut it down a little bit. Yeah. And that's what we're taught, that seeing spirit is scary, But I don't, when I look back now, I always say there's an amount of times that I would talk about spirit and go, I choose not to see them because that would be scary. But part of me goes, well, no, not really, because it's just an energetic form. It could be the energy of it's weird, having this conversation, because I actually had a dream about what spirit looks like, and it's coming to me right now, which was overnight, right? And it's like spirit showing you where spirit is, and it's kind of like it was showing me that it's like light. You know how we see a fainted version of an image? This is what spirit was explaining to me in my dream, what it looks like. Because it's funny we're having this topic, and it's coming back. And I remember seeing the dog, but I couldn't actually see the dog in my vision, but I could see the dog's lead, that the person that was alive was holding this dog, right? So Spirit is explaining to me, we see the energetic form of what a person or an object was, but very faded. And that's how they show up. That may be the easiest way for us to be able to see them, or what is not scary or easy in contact. You know how angels show up. They don't show up in their true form. Their true form is layers and layers and layers of light, which looks like wings. So we have created the energy in our mind that, created an object in our mind that's given our angels halos and wings, because that's a safer way to be able to see it. If we could see them in their true form, right? If we could see them in their true form, that may damage our eyesight. So this is what Spirit is bringing forth to me, is we get scared of seeing that. But really, Spirit was reinforming me in the dream that, no, we're just like a dumbed kind of lighter version of a clearer version, more lighter. I don't know how to explain it, but a more lighter version, a dulled down version of what you see normally. So it's there, but it's like you can put your hand through it. It's like, and I was like, wow, that's incredible, right? So, I just thought I'd throw that in there, because to me, it's Spirit showing us that it is safe to see us. It's like, that light, dulled down version. So I'm remembering this dream. I'm going to sit on that later, and I'm going, okay, what was the message in that? Because I think Spirit doesn't want us to be afraid of us seeing them. We have this whole logic brain side of things where we're coming through saying, oh no, we don't want to see them because, what if they're scary, or what if, they're not? And that's the thing, is we've been taught that you don't want to see them.
Yeah. That's it, because it's from an early age, it's scary, because then you get these ideas from films or books or whatever that Spirit can be scary, and a young mind grabs onto those things. It goes, oh, then I don't want to invite that. But I like that, Ness, and I think I'm going to look out for that more, and to see where that might come up in my life. Because for me, it's more of a feeling. So often I'll really feel that someone's there, and I'll say, oh, hi, I'll just acknowledge it and say, what are you doing here? And or for me, it's often smell seems to be a strong thing for me as well. So smell me to Spirit or people who have passed on that I know too. Yeah. So, but I'd love to be able to develop that more, to be able to just pick up on those signs more. Because like I said, I'm getting lots of messages through dreams and different things. But
and I think now, though, when you say, oh yes, I'm open to this now, Spirit's going to hear that. Your subconscious is going to hear that. And hey, your third eye is going to start going, oh, let's show you those visions. Let's get excited about it. And it's interesting enough that you add in the smell, because that's how I first learned that my dad was around, was from his cigarette smoke. And he was the first person that really had a Passover that started showing up for me. And people probably think, Richelle, and I guess I'm going to ask you in a minute as well, because smell is something that Spirit brings in. And a lot of people probably saying, like Spirit has an odor, and they make themselves known through their odor that you're going to recognize. So where I'm going with that is for you to share with us, and you said smell was your strongest sense, your clairvoyant sense. So share with us what smells and how they show up for you that intuitively that's Spirit.
Yeah, so I think I'm not sure if it's my strongest, but one that I'm tuning into. I lost my auntie, a number of years ago now. It's kind of over 3 years ago, coming up to 4 years to cancer. So she's my mum's sister, so really close to to Jill, and she came up when I was speaking with you, Ness, and also someone who had a strong connection to spirit and had gone to many psychics in her time. So it's a smell. I often get her smell. So it's just the smell from her house when I was a kid. So it's not so much the smell of Auntie Jill. It's a smell that I can remember from her house where she lived in Iniaba, and I can smell that. And I do feel like she is someone who's around a lot. So it is. I'd certainly get it with her. So it's not like a smoke smell or anything like that. Tuned into, it's almost like a family smell.
And that's the thing, is that's how you know that it's your auntie, right?
Yeah.
Because it's familiar to you. She's bringing that smell in. They're clever, aren't they? They can bring that smell in, connecting to that memory to show you that it's them. That's how you're going to remember them, because of that smell. And I can totally relate to that smell, because that smell, when I think of someone's house, like my next door neighbour, Mrs. Fellows, who, was my next door neighbour in Bustleton, right? And I remember her smell of her house. It had that beautiful old lady smell. And I know when she comes in, it brings back that memory, because it's showing me as a child going into a garden and smelling her violets, in her garden. Yeah. That all resonates. So then I know that she's with me, right? So I love that you say that you remember that smell, which then connects to her. You see the link, how spirit shows up.
Absolutely. Well, I said to her before she passed, because we knew we were going to lose her because she'd had cancer, I said, please come back and visit me often, but don't write on my mirror in lipstick. And I knew that wouldn't happen. Yeah, no, that was just a joke, It's like, and that's the connection to spirit being scary. Scary spirit writing on my mirror, so we made a joke even before she passed. And Ness, I was, and I feel it was fortunate. I was in the room in hospital when she took her last breath. I feel so privileged to have been the one sitting next to her, holding her hand while she passed over. And I do think that she chose me, and Graham was in the room, my partner, and my brother and my dad as well. So and happened to be while her daughter and my mum weren't in the room, and they'd been there so often. They were the ones who were spending the most time by her bedside. But when they left, she decided that it was her time to go. And I do believe that she chose me because of our spiritual connection, because I even said, it's time, you can go, Jill, you can go and be with your son, because she lost her son a few years earlier. And then moments later, my brother and dad said, I don't think the bed sheets are moving, and then, and although that's a sad story, I say that with some joy and happiness that I got to share in that moment. So she's in spirit. I think she's with me often, although she's got lots of other people to look after. I know spirit, you can kind of divide yourself and be here and different places at different times. That's the word. Yeah.
A lot of them are now. And if you don't know what omnipresent means, it means they can be present anywhere, everywhere, all in one moment. Their energy scatters. So it's pretty cool how spirit can do that. And I just think, when we're on the subject of how they show up in our life, smell, taste is another thing. Have you ever experienced taste?
No, not really, not that I can recall.
Taste is interesting, because I could be delivering a reading and all of a sudden I start tasting something unusual and I start craving it, and I have to separate the two, whether it's me or whether it's for my client. And most of the time it's for my client, right? And I've had times where I'm craving red wine, and that's a message that spirit has dropped into me to say, oh, do you think that person might need some support with that? And I ask them, I've got a hankering for red wine. Is this anything that resonates with you? And they might say, I have a bottle or two a day, you know, so then you know that there's something there that spirit's brought in that we maybe need to discuss. So it's interesting.
And I like that, because I think that is so much around awareness, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's another part of what a big focus of me in my counselling work is supporting people around their own self-awareness, but self-awareness and then the spiritual awareness that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have some of that, but there's so much more that I can tap into or explore. And that's, well, as you're talking, Ness, I'm thinking too, and I have asked you this before when we're in a women's circle, but trying to differentiate the difference between ego and spirit. So I say that because just really trying to tune into more of what thoughts or things are coming into my mind, and still not being clear about whether that's my ego talking or whether that's spirit sending me a message.
All right. Let's ask you this question. When that's happening, where do you feel it comes from?
It can vary. I think that's why I'm a bit confused, because sometimes I think, oh, this is just a thought which is trying to create a positive thought, which is great. And and other times it can kind of, I guess, come a bit more out of the blue, which I think means it's more authentically spirit. Yes. So just trying to be clear around. Yeah.
And I always say, where do you feel it's coming from? Is it coming from outside of your body, or is it feeling like it's coming from an authentic heart space? And if it is coming from an authentic heart space, you know that it's not driven by ego, right?
Yeah.
Because ego isn't a bad thing. Ego is trying to create a better space for you, or keep you safe, or bring you back into perspective, or to help you move through hello Leah, laid back, and move you through that space to show you what you can have, or, you know, bring you out of your comfort zone, challenge you, you know. And it isn't always a bad thing. Some people think that, you know, working from a place of ego, that's different when you're driven by ego. But when you're coming from a place of, sometimes in a different space of understanding your ego to your authentic self, it's just asking, where's this coming from? And your body's going to show you inside or out of you. And if it's out of you, question why it is out of you, right? Yeah. Why that ego? Is it coming from ego that's not coming from that authentic place? Is it to challenge me? Is it to bring me down a few pegs? Or is it actually not coming from that authentic place that's not going to be, you know, for the greater good? So, you know, analyze it a little bit. And if you're not going anywhere with that, I always say, Richelle, just bring it back to the authentic self and put it back out there that I'm coming from a place of good. And if you're not a place of good, then step back, you know. And ego is just another part of us, I believe. It's just another side of us that we've all got, that we can either be driven by, or we can either be driven by the authentic self. So it depends on where you listen. So, you know, hopefully that gives you kind of like.
Yeah, I like that. And I think it is, thinking about it, it's just tuning into it more and asking myself the question, where is this coming from? Or what thoughts had I had prior to this? Because that can often be a sign that it's more about, well, not about spirit, I guess. So being clear around that. So just, really wanting to build on these skills, I think, or build on this. Skills probably isn't the right word, Ness. What word would you use?
Oh, maybe abilities. Applying them, you know, and that's the thing is too, you know, I just want to elaborate on that too, because we all don't hear things. You're a feeler. You might just only feel. So you know what feels right and what intuitively doesn't feel right. Yeah. So you ask yourself that same question. But it's more of an ability, I think. And they are skills anyway, because the abilities are there. You're going to gain those skills, you know. So, you know, ego is there to challenge you to raise the bar too when you think about it.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's going to teach you those abilities and teach you more and more about yourself, you know.
Yeah. It kind of gives you confidence in a way to pursue the
pursue
exploration
those
more.
challenges.
Yeah, or to say, oh, you know, you're kidding yourself. You don't have any spiritual connection. No, you know, it's like, yeah, actually you do. And let's
you do.
learn this. Yeah, for sure.
Everyone does.
Yeah, that's
to a certain
right.
level, and it is an intuitive feeling, I believe, where it starts, and then you move on from that, and you allow that, you bring it forward. So you just say, all right, there is a psychic ability, or there's a healing ability within me. It is an intuitive feeling. Let's run with it. And I always say, a lot of people go with that. Oh no, it's a psychic feeling. Oh, I'm not going to do it because they're afraid that they might stuff up. But if you don't give it a go, you won't have helped that person in the first place.
No. And it's also intent. I think it's like counselling. It's what is your intent? And if your intent is pure and it's for a good reason, then it's okay to have a go at that, as long as that's where it's coming from.
The greater good.
I love that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always say, people say to me about intent, or they say, such and such has changed their spiritual journey and they've gone religious. And I always say, well, that's okay. And they will say, what we do isn't right. And they've changed their view on life, right? But I always say, if you come from a place of good, you're working with the intent that you're helping someone, how can it be wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. You're making a contribution. You're making a positive contribution.
Yeah. Jen said hello. Nice to see you, Richelle. Jen Kirby.
Hi, Jen.
So I got a few watchers. Don't be afraid to say hello, everybody. And if there's a question that you want to ask Richelle, because we've got another 20 minutes before we head off, but if there's a question that you want to ask Richelle or myself, whatever, and Richelle can add on that as well, ask away, because I'm sure there is plenty of knowledge that Richelle and I can give you. Richelle, if you've just joined us, is a counsellor here in Busselton. She does consulting. And I just want to, as well, elaborate on the consulting before people ask questions. They might throw some up while we're talking. You've got your counselling side. Let's share with us about this consulting side that you do too, Richelle.
Yeah, sure. So a hat I've been wearing for some time too throughout my working life is learning and organisational development. So that is a lot around like learning and development in terms of how we train our staff and how we upskill our staff and how we plan for things like succession planning and knowledge management. These are all very people and culture kind of terms, but also around organisational culture. So how can we evaluate the culture of an organisation, and then how can we make positive change to make it like a psychologically safe environment, or where we can get our employees to feel like their well-being is being considered, for example. So so the consultancy part is offering support to businesses and particularly non-profit organisations. Like that's where I've come from. So that's where my connection really is, around things like learning and development, say culture, wellness initiatives, because I know lots of organisations are now more focused on the wellness of their employees and becoming more and more serious about it. It's not just, we'll tick the box and now we feel better because we've offered this incentive. There's a real commitment coming through to really make sure that employees are feeling safe and being able to be authentic when they're in the workplace. But then I do other things like strategic planning and different bits. So it doesn't sound anywhere near as exciting as the counselling stuff. But
no, I know. That's where your passion lies now, right?
Yeah, but what sits under all of this does align very much to the counselling as well. So it very much does come through a wellness lens, the work that I'm doing. And also a part of that consultancy is more your leadership coaching. So more if you're looking at changing your career or you're feeling stuck, it's kind of the consultancy bit looks at that as well, because I'm trying to do an assessment which is called the Judgment Index Assessment, which is a fantastic assessment around how our values influence our decision making.
You know what was coming to me when you were talking about that was career coaching, life coaching, as in their life purpose, because it does link back to that. And when people are aligned with their soul journey and their life purpose, it fulfills their dreams, it fulfills their heart space, it gives them so much love and compassion in that space. And it is all linked to intuitive, guiding, bringing in their values. And I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, and then a clear link to the counselling. So you don't need to come and see me if you've got a particular challenge. So maybe it's you're experiencing some anxiety or you're having relationship issues. It can be exactly that. I want to do something different. And I love that stuff because that, again, that sits with the philosophy of forward moving. It's about people coming and saying, I've had enough of doing that and I really want to do something else, but I'm so unsure about how to get there, and I just need someone to talk to and provide me with some, strategies or even a framework around how I might be able to start myself on that journey. So it's all quite neatly linked. So I certainly don't consider myself to be a business advisor. I don't wear a business advisor hat. It is more around that real supporting people to develop, and the career development stuff, absolutely, Ness. So when I first started in community services, I did work in like employability services, not for a big federal government organisation. It was more a local organisation. So that really, I guess, made me thirsty for this sort of work and really helping people go from being stuck to really feeling like they're doing, moving in a positive direction.
Absolutely. And, funny you say that, because I started in social work and stepped it back and then went into employability, job searching and supporting people with finding work, right? And I was working with people that were on unemployment benefits. So to see someone change their life, right, from that moment that was on unemployment benefits, that really needed to step up, find a purpose, find anything that was going to get them out of bed to change their direction. And I remember one thing that my boss said to me: it starts with a job, regardless. It starts with finding that one purpose where you can put it into your daily routine, change people's direction. It's so empowering, right? To give them that goal to work to, and then they're in that job for 6 months. They've managed to stay in that job, and then you see them years later, they're still at that job.
Absolutely. And it is purpose, isn't it? And as you're saying that, I've felt that's something that's been resonating with me in the last few months as I've set up my new business. It's, there's such purpose to what I'm doing, but then there was a bit of a lull. So getting set up and then obviously waiting for momentum to happen. And just even having a week or so where I felt like it had been set up, now waiting for things to happen. It felt like the purpose was stripped away a little bit, and I immediately have a reaction to that. And I can rationalize that and say, hey, Richelle, you know what's going on. And so I'm lucky that I've got enough self-awareness that I can do that. But still, even when you have been in the industry and I know myself so well, it's so easy to still go down that rabbit hole, and without purpose and that's a big part of who I am. All my personality assessments say, you're someone who needs to have purpose. You're someone who needs to make a difference. And if you're not, I instantly think, what am I doing? What is my purpose here?
But, just having that right purpose that you can pay the bills with, pay for your roof over your head, it just makes a difference to your life, knowing that what you're doing has purpose.
Without a doubt.
That's right.
Sorry.
Go.
I was saying, and I keep thinking about little things which are important, kind of in my life, and I think also aligning to my business is when you're talking about purpose. So often people can think, oh, this is my purpose, but are reluctant to pursue it. So there's so much pain or discomfort in stepping out of a comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I love all of that too, and that's a big thing that I explore in my work with people, is around the risk of taking a risk, and how important it is to be able to push through that initial discomfort or pain or adversity, or however you want to describe it, because it feels shit, you know. It does. It's hard. It's so hard, and you think it's so easy then to go, I'll just run back to where I was more comfortable, because then my body is not going to react in this way, and then my body will thank me for getting me back to a safe place. But then next week you have a thought again going, I'm not enjoying being in this safe place. So a big part of my work is about supporting clients to take that risk in a supported way. It's not like, right, come on, off we go. It's really about those small steps to making a difference. And
the risk gives you the growth, you know, that gives you more of a challenge, and for you to step out of that. So it's so rewarding when you actually
without a doubt. And I know I spoke to you briefly before we came on, Ness, about the risk involved with setting up my own business. So I had to give up security of a well-paid job where I was well respected, but I wanted to do it, and it is. I probably have experienced more stress and anxiety in the last few months than I have for a long time, but I can acknowledge why. You know, it's like, and with that acknowledgement, it allows me to kind of roll with it a bit more, to say, of course you're feeling more stress, because look at what you're doing. So don't get caught up in the feeling of anxiety. Make sense of why this is happening. Go to your coping skills, do those sorts of things that you know, but also know that there will be heightened and it will feel uncomfortable, but crack on. And another and a tool from Phil Stutz. So talking about Phil Stutz earlier. So one of his tools that I love, he calls it Jeopardy, but I call it the deathbed therapy.
Oh.
So it's like whenever I feel like I don't want to do the forward movement, or I'm happy going back to my comfort zone where there's instant gratification, I picture myself lying on my deathbed. So it sounds a bit morbid, but it's not. So lying there at a, you know, whatever age I am, and looking back and saying to myself right now, are you happy with what you're doing and what you've achieved? And if you were to pass now with what you've done, is that satisfying enough? Have you pushed yourself enough? And not pushed yourself. I'm not like, we must all achieve high and we must all. I'm not like that. But it's a single player game. You know what I mean? And this is about me, not what other people are putting on me. But that deathbed therapy, would I be happy? And that's one thing that I've looked back at before I started this business, and I said, this is something I have to do. Because I already felt it was something that was frustrating me, that I wasn't taking the action, because it was too easy to sit in my comfort zone, and too
exactly
and all of that. So it's I love the deathbed therapy.
It's great. It's great that you can put that into action, you know, and you do need to question yourself, you know. Kylie says here, good morning, ladies. I was confused between spirituality and religion. Reading The Lightworker's Way, Doreen Virtue. No more confusion. Loving the chats. Okay, good confirmation there. Jen says, wow, you both do a wonderful job. Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Yes. Leah says, I'm definitely going to suggest my eldest daughter to think about seeing you, Richelle, with not only counselling but also career advice as well. After being in FIFO for 6 years, it's time to change mentally and physically. Yeah. So that's great, Leah. Well done.
Awesome. And that can happen, you know, it's all at an individual pace. So it's, you know, it's and Ness knows it's really about meeting the person where they're at, not making assumptions about anything. And if someone has been stuck for a long time, we know that's going to take more time. But that's where, you know, the really good work can happen. If you're a good counsellor and you're really focused on that person-centered care and getting to know the individual, And that's where I like the solution-focused stuff too, Ness, because it's so strength-based. You know, it's not looking at all the problems and what you don't have. It's really saying, okay, but what do you have and what resources can you draw on? And can you tell me a time when you weren't experiencing this? And what did that look like? And what was happening for you? And yeah,
it's just amazing how the two fits together, you know, or three fits together. It all kind of brings it down into that and helps you with that solution. Leah also said, Ness, she saw you a few years ago. Oh, yes, her daughter, and it helped her from detaching from the exes. So, you know, we've all got our own little gifts and our own little, you know, tools to be able to help. And that's why I love this show, Richelle, because I'm putting people on there to show the people what they can do, how we're all unique, how we all deal with different experiences, how you've experienced your life is different to mine, and how we've got through that, you know. And a lot of that is about nurturing the self, listening to self, doing the deathbed therapy, like you said, you know, moving yourself out of where you're at. You know, you got your own fork in the road here. Do you stay where you're at, or do you move forward? You know, it's your choice. You know, if you stay the same, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Well, it leads to unhappiness. You know, that's what it does. And I think for anyone who's looking towards change or unsure, is about opening up to these sorts of messages. Like you say, Ness, we've all got the ability, we've all got the gift. It's just about how aware or how conscious we are about them. And I know often for me, when I haven't been connected is when I've been the most unhappy. And then I come out the other side and I go, Richelle, you know how this works. What are you doing? What are you doing? You know this. It's been proven. Yeah. And as soon as I make that shift, that's when I dreams, I since I've started pursuing my business idea, the amount of times I've woken up and seen, and it's been 4:38 on the clock, and 4:38 is about hard work will lead to abundance. So I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've woken up at that time and just looked at the clock and gone, and I always say, thank you, I'm sorry I'm such a slow learner, but thank you. And even ones are everywhere for me at the moment. Absolutely.
And Spirit's going to keep coming up and showing up until you understand that message. Or it might not be Spirit, it might be just the universe showing you exactly what you need to do to make this work and how you can challenge yourself, you know, because everything every day is a challenge, whether it's someone that can't get out of bed, that's a challenge. You know, I know there's days where I wish that I could stay under the warm doona and just, you know, not worry about it. And, you know, you kind of have to have some kind of regime or routine to say, you know, whether it's deathbed therapy or whether it's me putting the music on going, you know what, get up, get motivated. You got people to help. You got things you have to do. Life doesn't stop with all this. Yes, you've got to evaluate life. But what are you going to do to make it interesting along the way? And that's exactly what we're doing, is we're reminding ourselves that every day is a challenge. Whatever we do, we just have to, I guess, push ourselves to that next level and do those things, the home play, you know, the nurturing to get us to do it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such a good summary. It's the discomfort. I often think if we're trying to pursue a life without pain or discomfort, we're going to be very disappointed, because we know that is life. And that's not a negative thought. That's just a reality. And it's how we embrace that, or how we acknowledge that, and how we work through that makes a difference, because it's going to be there. Like I say, daily it's there. It's not just every now and then. It's there daily. And
that's right.
And it can wear us down. So it's almost like our philosophy around pain and discomfort can
absolutely, but it's a choice. It's a choice. Absolutely. Do you stay the same, or do you let it go? Kylie says, like they say, helping others helps heal ourselves. It absolutely does.
Absolutely.
Every message you receive to give to the client is also a message for you.
Yeah. Love that. So many messages.
I know, right? Guess what? We're going to read some cards, Richelle.
Oh, lovely. You know I love the cards.
I know, right? And I've got this deck here, Energy and Spirit Oracle by Sandra Ann Taylor. So while I'm shuffling, and I'm going to pull a card, I'm going to give it an interpretation. I'm going to pull 2 cards. And if you want to, you can, or you don't have to. You can share your interpretation and your advice on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay if you don't want to, but do you want to do that? Do you want to share your interpretation as well?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent.
Well, particularly if something really clear comes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. While I'm doing that, is there any last things you want to say, hun, before we do these cards?
I just want to say thanks, Ness. This has been great fun. It's nice to have a chat. I think often when you're in your own business, you can be so much in your own head, having all these great thoughts, and it's one thing to think them and to write them down, but to be able to articulate them, I think, is really important as well. And I think that aligns to counselling and therapy. It's the actual talk therapy and actually speaking about things and expressing that can be so helpful. So thank you for the opportunity. And there's we could do 20 of these about particular topics.
No, we could. It's just flows, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely going to get you back. Don't you worry about that.
I'm always I'm happy to come back. But I did make some notes, but I think I haven't even looked at them, which means it's been a great, easy chat. So I'm so grateful for that. Yeah. So, but I think one thing, just a little thing I wrote down about comfort zone. So without trying to, bang on about it, but, and this is again from my mate, Phil Stutz. So I keep going on about him, but I think a modern weakness is that we have a need for immediate gratification. Mm-hmm. So much of that around with consumerism, and it's like we need to have that immediate response and that immediate gratification for something that we do. And the comfort zone makes us feel good in the moment. So what we spoke about before, being in the comfort zone, I feel good here, I feel safe. And then we're not worried about the future penalty, like the future outcome of that, because when we're in the comfort zone, it feels like it's the right place to be. But the future penalty does come, and it brings with it the worst pain of all, the knowledge that you have wasted your life.
Yeah.
So that's a bit intense, but in terms of wasted your life, I think I think it really summarises a bit of what we've been talking about in terms of the risk of taking risk and the importance of, doing that and listening to messages and listening to things that are really clear, and like starting my own business and going, this is going to hurt, this is going to be painful, this is going to be uncertain, but I don't want to sit back and feel like this is one thing I haven't done in my life, which is significant to me.
Yeah, and if you don't change it now, you'll be looking back at 12 months' time going,
for sure. Yeah. And getting further and further down the rabbit hole. And, when you do that, that can often lead to depression and different things as well. So it's, it's something to think about.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, everyone. Let's think about in your mind here what you want to know, what spirit can give you answers to, or what the universe can give you answers to, and let's pull out a couple of cards, right? All right. Hope you've all thought about something. Let's pull out a card. Kinship. What I'm getting here is finding that tribe, the community, connecting to likewise people. That could be part of how we look after ourselves and how we nurture and put ourselves back in a balance. Is if you feel a little bit isolated lately, maybe it's time to reconnect, whether it's going for a cuppa or catching up with friends, or joining something like my circle, or going out and having a dinner party at your house or something like that. Whatever it is finding your tribe and connecting to the community. And it says here it's number 32, which is number 5, which I can't remember what number 5 means, but someone that does numbers can share number 5. But it's community in your group. So it's about connection, reaching out to others, to support the self, to let go of any isolation or situations. We all get caught at that. We love our comfort zone of our home. We all get caught up in staying within that. Maybe the message is to come out of your comfort zone, find your tribe. If you're finding it very hard to connect to people, you're new to a community, what are you going to do to change that? Connect to someone at work, or go to a yoga class, or, invite some friends over and do something that is totally going to bring you out of your zone. And that's what I feel this card is saying to you, to reconnect, to reach out, make those changes, because that's what Richelle was saying. It's about that comfort zone and making those steps to change and challenge yourself. So, Richelle, have you got anything you want to add to that?
I think what's coming up for me is the isolation that can happen when you are running your own business. So it really just says to me the importance of getting together with people like yourself, Ness, regularly to share and support is really important, because it can be isolating, week by week when you are working on although you're working with people, it's about having that team around you to nurture and support.
Absolutely. Love that. All right, second card. I hope that answered some of your questions, everyone, that you had in your mind that you're putting out there. If not, there's a reason for it. Maybe you to move forward is to connect to likewise people. All right, we've got number 42, prosperity. So this is financial stability. So, you might have been saying, is things going to get easier financially? Or, where am I at financially? I'm feeling a bit stuck. And this is abundance and success. So you can see the yellow brick road there, the golden road to Dorothy's castle, the Wizard of Oz. It's like, it was a long journey. It's a long journey and it is hard work. But, what are you going to do along the way to, help you continue to have growth and to step forward and to, get the success and the prosperity that you've been asking for? So Spirit is saying to me here, it is a long road. You're going to meet different people along the way, someone with brains, someone with a heart, and someone with strength. It's going to be all part of you anyway. So I feel like for you to get to the end of this road, for you to finally get to the Emerald City, is to actually focus on the tools and the nurturing and the support that you need along the way, which brings you to your community, right? Which brings the two together. So I really feel like this card is saying for you to gain the success that you're wanting to move forward with, it's the strength, the heart, and the brains along the way that are all part of you that are going to get you there. And it's bringing that nurturing and the tools, the home play, into action to give you the growth and the stability and the success to gain prosperity in the long run. So what have you got to add, Richelle?
I did. Yeah, I like that really resonates, like everything that you've said, but it's again confirmation about the prosperity. So pursuing this path is the right path. It's going to be prosperous. But yeah, continue to connect with people and the future's bright. I think that's what I get as well.
Yeah. And prosperity can be in all different areas. In abundance, it can be financial, it can be love and connection, it can be health, it can be, abundance in knowledge, whatever that is. And prosperity is a lot of everything. So it's very powerful to bring that in. A lot of success if you wish for it.
Yeah.
So great cards, right? Richelle loves. Rebecca says, love the cards. And Jenny said, oh, my God, that's so me. So connects to everyone, right? It's amazing. Well, everybody, that's it for our show. I'd love to be able to talk to Richelle all day. She's easy. She flows.
Yeah, it's
so
fun.
Great. Yeah. But we'll get you back in a few months. And I have a space open for next fortnight. If anyone is interested in jumping in that's watching, I'd love to have someone on. It'd be great. Rebecca says, thanks, ladies. So does Leah. Thank you, ladies. So, yeah, it's been a really good show.
Thank you. Thank you, Ness.
My pleasure. All right, everyone. Love and light. See you in a fortnight, or I'll see you on Monday for Cards of the Week. But don't forget, I've got my circle on Saturday. Hopefully some of you can make it. And I am doing my Oracle card course at the end of July in Bustleton if you're interested in that too. All right, everyone. Love and light to you all. Richelle, have you got anything coming up that you want to share?
No, I don't think so. Just,
All
yeah, have a wonderful weekend.
And don't forget to share your contact details in the chat.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. See you, everyone. Bye.